Hello, welcome to the Horror Boys. I'm Steven.
I'm Tanner, and welcome to our show today. How are you today, Steven?
I'm doing well. Did you see A Quiet Place?
I did not, but I think you did, and I don't know your opinion on it yet.
It's pretty good. I didn't expect it to be all that, I don't know. It looked kind of like it would be a CG fest from the trailers, and it was, but it looked really good. Nice anamorphic lenses. John Krasinski, I really just cannot take him seriously as an actor. It's not really his fault. I like his look, but I don't know. I just always feel like he's overdoing it or something. But his direction's strong. The melodrama in it really drags, and these creatures in the movie, it doesn't seem like they could have caused the apocalypse at all. But there's some really, really tense stuff in it. Like, it's one of the more tense movies I've seen in a long time.
Well, if that movie didn't have any tension in it, then the whole premise is just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, there's a scene, I won't spoil it, but there's a scene where a pregnant lady's water breaks right as monsters are invading the house that she's alone in.
Mm-hmm.
And that, 15-minute sequence is one of the most intense things I've seen in a theater in a long time.
Oh, that's pretty great.
There's also stuff the movie could have answered, though, like, where did these people get electricity?
Oh, they still have electricity?
Yeah, they do. And I won't spoil this, but for the people who've seen the movie, please tell me that Mars Attacks doesn't almost work as a perfect parody for this film.
Oh. Well, that's...
If you've seen the movie, you should know what I'm talking about. It's mostly third act stuff, but...
So country music makes them blow up?
Basically, yes.
Oh, no joke. Oh, so, noise attracts them, but if you're loud enough, then they blow up.
I mean, it's not that. I mean, there's... I don't want to spoil it. I'm just going to leave it be.
Okay.
Go see it, though.
I'm just going to
it's a fun
say I'm
theater
right.
movie.
Okay.
And isn't it yodeling?
I thought it was country music.
I guess we have to rewatch Mars Attacks.
Do we have to?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. That was a good cast, but that's a pretty bad
Yeah.
មួយ, all in all.
Which is, it should be the type of movie you and I would love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's similar to Ed Wood, parodying, not really a parody, but sort of a looking back on the old B film kind of things as he was doing with Ed Wood, but it doesn't really, it's not really good.
Roger Ebert said it's between two movies, and both parts of the movie could be really good, but they aren't.
Mm.
And I think that's a good way to put it. I like the slice of Americana stuff in it quite a bit. Jodan Baker's in it, right?
I don't even know. I couldn't point Jodan Baker out of a crowd, if you know what I mean. But apparently he's in everything.
He's in quite a bit. He's in some movie about evil dogs that I just came across that I want to see.
Howling 5?
No.
Oh. All right. So this week we watched 3 films yet again. I think we're going to stick to 3. Seems like we were kind of cramped with 4, but I think we might actually do 4 next week. First film we watched was 1989's The Ambulance, directed by Larry Cohen, who's famous for the movie The Stuff. He's also done the movie Phone Booth. He wrote the Maniac Cop films. He's mainly a screenwriter, but he's also a really great director. And he normally writes what he directs, obviously. But this film follows a mulleted Eric Roberts after he stalks a woman and she's kidnapped by an ambulance. And it's revealed that people are kidnapping diabetics throughout New York City for some reason. Which brings me to my first point. And I didn't really think about this until 2 days after we watched the movie. But what is the reason they are kidnapping diabetics? Because I don't think we ever got that answer.
We did get that answer, Tanner.
We did?
Yeah, so you have one scene with the cool villain at the start of the movie, and he doesn't show back up until the last act.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I'm gonna cure you of your diabetes before I kill you.
But
then... Yeah, that's what he does. That's his entire arc. He's a doctor who wants to kill people after he cures them. So I guess he was curing the people of their diabetes. I don't really know if it worked.
But that still doesn't make any sense. I remember that scene. I just That didn't answer my question exactly. Because, like, A, you can't cure diabetes. We see no examples of people being cured. Like, the lady that Eric Roberts is looking for isn't cured at the end, is she?
I think she might have been. I don't know. I didn't. This movie lost me, Tanner.
It was pretty fun. We had some good, like, character actors in it.
James Earl Jones is the highlight of the film.
No. Red Buttons is the highlight of the film.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
Who plays a badass old man who literally saves the day, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
James Earl Jones just dies. He just dies, Steven.
While chewing gum.
Oh, yeah. He's chewing gum as he, like, expires. It's pretty great.
And he gets shot, and then he gets back up, and he starts shooting at them again, and then they run him down, and that's when he dies.
Still chewing gum.
He's an old fat man. I mean, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Eric Roberts is a total creep in this movie.
He is.
If you don't know Eric Roberts, he's the brother, is it, of Julia Roberts, and father of,
What?
what's her name? The daughter.
I don't know Eric Roberts' daughter.
She's
Emma Roberts?
Emma Roberts, yeah. She's in The Black Coat's Daughter. A couple other movies I like. Scream 4.
Wow.
She's a good actress. Emily hates her. I think she's solid. I like her.
Well, it's just because of American Horror Story. Everything she's been in that has kind of sucked.
Well, American Horror Story just kind of sucks.
Yeah, but it ruins the Emma Roberts experience.
If anyone's looking for something like American Horror Story but not bad, check out Channel Zero on Sci-Fi. It is a sci-fi TV show based on creepypastas, which sounds like the worst thing ever, but it is a ton of fun. It's great. All 3 seasons are worth your time. Season 2 especially. John Carroll Lynch is terrifying in it. Let's get back to the movie. Eric Roberts.
He stalks a woman. Like, he's truly creepy at the beginning.
I saw this woman. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. I gotta talk to her. I gotta do it.
And yeah, and he gets her first name, and he sees an ambulance take her away. And then he goes to try to find her in a hospital, which is even weirder, and he can't find her. So that's how he knows she's been kidnapped. Something's up. But
he's a comic book artist. He works for Stan Lee at Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
And he draws a not great portrait of her. It's not very accurate. And he just walks around the city handing it to people. Like a really stylized drawing of this woman.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to see Stan Lee in this movie, though. It's the most acting chops I've seen Stan Lee give, actually, because most of his things are just cameos. But this is like an honest-to-God role.
Not really. It's not any bigger than his role in Mallrats.
I haven't seen Mallrats. Please don't yell at me.
I mean,
sorry.
You don't like Kevin Smith much, right?
I like Clerks, but
Clerks is good. Mallrats is it's not as good as Clerks, but it's worth your time. It's worth a watch.
So this film was okay. I can't remember what I rated it. I think I gave it either a 3 out of 5 stars or a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I definitely gave it a 3, and days later contemplated dropping it to a 2.5.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me, just because I realized that it didn't make any sense. Like, it's like one of those films you watch on TV. You catch it on TV, and you get kind of...
And you miss quite a bit of it while watching.
Yeah, but you still get kind of caught in the trap. And you watch the whole thing, and you're like, man, that was a good, relaxing film. And then you watch it actually in its entirety later on, and it doesn't make any sense. And you can't understand how you ever even thought that was good.
I had that experience with Tony Scott's The Fan.
The Fan?
Yeah, it's about... It might be Jamie Foxx is getting stalked by Robert De Niro because he loves him. And he's like a famous baseball player or something. It's not good, but if you're watching it on TV, it does the job well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think most of Larry Cohen's movies feel like to me. Like, the Maniac Cop movies are, like, legitimately good to me, but, like, they're not as good as they'd be unless you saw them on TV randomly. You know what I mean?
Kinda. I haven't seen those, but I get where you're coming from. I think The Stuff holds its own.
Yeah. Well, like, Phone Booth is the perfect, like, literally the perfect example of something you'd see on TV. and think it was kind of awesome, and then you watch it in its entirety and it's kind of stupid.
I also haven't seen Phone Booth, but
Oh, you haven't seen Phone Booth? Oh, okay.
I hear it's good. I've always wanted to see it. I like Colin Farrell.
Well, I mean, Kiefer Sutherland's the guy on the phone too.
Does he show up or is he just on the phone?
Spoilers, Steven.
Oh, good.
But
okay,
I mean,
all right. I'll watch Phone Booth.
It's Kiefer Sutherland's voice, so how bad could it be?
Is it like 24 Kiefer Sutherland or is it Dark City Kiefer Sutherland? Because there's several distinctions.
It's probably closer to Jack Bauer, Kiefer Sutherland. So.
All right, I'm not interested.
Well, it's like, you're not gonna hang up this phone, or else I'm gonna kill your wife. You know, things like that. But.
And the president. And I never used the bathroom in my 24 hours on the show.
I mean, there are episodes where he uses the bathroom and or sleeps.
I've never watched 24.
Clearly.
I just heard that criticism once, and I thought, who cares? Why would that bother anyone?
Yeah, like, literally, who cares? Like, the first season of 24 is, like, one of the best television seasons that's ever existed. Especially the first half. After that, 24 got kind of silly. But, like, you can't keep up that gimmick forever. It's basically, like, a season thing. Man, we got tangented again.
You can tell that Tanner and I are very passionate about the ambulance because we can totally hold a conversation about it.
We really can't. We'll be better on the next two movies because I feel like I have more to say about the next two movies than the
This is just... It's an in one ear out the other sort of movie.
Yeah.
You passively watch it and then you passively realize you don't remember what you saw.
Yeah, but there were like fun moments, so I don't want to discredit it entirely.
It has some really gorgeous cinematography. It's shot by the guy who did the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and lots of nice neon lights. Looks really great. Beautiful anamorphic lenses. We watched a pretty good restoration.
Yeah, and just some really good character actors. We mentioned James Earl Jones. Whoever plays the villain just does an amazing job.
But he's in it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's like not in it at all, but he steals the show every time he is in it.
Here's what I can say about The Ambulance. I like a lot of the ideas in it, and I think it's a good-looking movie, but it failed to establish any sort of atmosphere that kept me entranced. When I'm watching a movie that's supposed to be paranoid and takes place in a city, I'm always into that. Like After Hours, the latter half of that film, I adore. And I wish this movie had any sort of atmosphere like that, because the concept of this ambulance with creepy green lights inside of it abducting people for no reason is really cool, and I love that idea, but it never really feels like it's stalking the main guy. It just shows up every now and then. And I just wish they'd really nailed that aspect of the movie. And also, the mystery of why are they taking these people, they only ever explain it at the very start of the movie with, well, I'm going to cure you and then I'm going to kill you. And that's as far as they ever go into that. And it's not like there's some grand conspiracy. It's that there's a nightclub where they take these people and then up on the second floor they kill them. And that's it.
Yeah, I think you about covered it.
I mean, that's all I have to say about the movie. It has some neat ideas, but it sucks.
Yeah, it's got... but again, it's not like Scorsese. It's like Larry Cohen, the king of B movies kind of guy.
Well, sure, but look at Society. Society is a bad movie until those last 20 minutes, but it still gets the job done and keeps you entranced. It does the whole conspiracy theory angle way more on a much smaller level, just with the way the kid's face caves in at the party, stuff at the funeral, stuff like that. I wish the movie had just had that level of quality, where it can be bad and the ending can be so good that I'm totally entranced, you know?
These are outliers, though. Like, Society is, like, just... There's no other film like it. I mean, I'd say this is like an average B film.
Well, sure. I'm saying I wish it had been Society,
Oh,
which
I gotcha.
we watched when we found out David Bowie died. R.I.P.
Yeah. It was still a good movie, even though David Bowie was dead for the entirety of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Damn.
Still a good movie.
Speaking of dead things, I have something I care about a lot more than The Ambulance. I can just do a little aside here. The Palace in Wichita, which is a second-run theater Tanner and I saw a whole bunch of awesome old movies at, closed this week to be turned into a Cracker Barrel, and I'm pissed off about it. A Cracker Barrel, Tanner.
I'm super stoked for those chicken and dumplings.
Damn it, no.
I'm just kidding. I'm never going to be in Wichita. Really? Yeah, that's a shame. We saw like Risky Business there for like $5, and it was amazing.
Less than that.
It was less than $5.
Yeah, I saw
Man.
Legend there twice in one weekend, both cuts. You saw that with
And
me.
Emily wanted to kill you.
Yeah. But the international cut is so much better than the first. That was something.
I only saw the international cut, but
Well,
was
keep it
pretty
that
good.
way.
Okay.
Yeah. What else? We saw Excalibur there.
That was okay.
Jonathan Borman's direction is stellar.
I didn't like Excalibur that much. I'm not a sword and sorcery kind of guy though.
Yeah, but Helen Mirren, though.
Shiite, but yeah, we're gonna miss the palace.
Just a tear shed for it. They had 1 week's notice, and I think that's unfortunate. Because
1 week.
especially towards the end, they were getting some really cool obscure stuff. Like, they got The Love Witch there.
Mm-hmm.
Clown, which is a movie about a guy slowly turning into a clown with Peter Stormare in it. And the guy who directed that ended up doing the new Spider-Man. And
Oh,
that's just
yeah.
funny to me.
I forgot.
It's not a
about
great
that.
movie, but it's worth watching. So, fuck the ambulance. Goodbye the palace. We'll miss you.
Oh, no, the ambulance is okay. The ambulance is just okay. It's not below 5 out of 10, right?
I agree.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
No, I agree. Yep.
All right.
Also, Eric Roberts is just the worst protagonist.
Yeah, he's pretty lame. And he has a mullet.
A bad one.
Yeah, it's a pretty awful mullet. There's a reason both his daughter and his sister are more famous than he'll ever be. And the reason he appears in David Dakota films.
He does do like 200 movies a year, and you have to admire that hustle.
Well, all of them are David Dakota films.
It's not true. I watched him in a Lifetime movie where he was a doctor that fell in love with someone's daughter and then married her to be close to the daughter or something.
Oh yeah, that looked awesome. I mean,
Yeah, it might have been.
I don't want to say that about a Lifetime movie to the public, but some of those are just hilarious.
Lifetime has its place. It's really inspiring when their more diverse works get theatrical releases, like Hidden Figures.
Wait, what?
No, nothing. I paid to see that movie in theaters, and it was a Lifetime movie, and I was upset by that.
Oh, I gotcha.
We don't need to go into detail there.
Well, and all the Lifetime movies are all just middle-aged white women.
That's true.
All right, you want to move on to the next film?
Please, yes.
Yeah, the ambulance was kind of a rough one to talk about. But the next film we watched was Hardware, a 1990 movie directed by Richard Stanley, who would later on go to do Dust Devil, and finally The Island of Dr. Moreau, which was a garbage fire, and basically ruined his career, which is a shame.
Well, hey,
Sorry,
have you
what?
seen The Island of Dr. Moreau?
No, but like I'm more talking about the production of it than the actual result.
Everything about the production was going fine and dandy until they fired him and he went crazy on the third day, and then he hid inside of a pig suit while they had an action director film his smart horror movie.
Oh. Well, I started Lost Soul, but I never finished it because I had to go to bed.
Well, it's better than Hardware.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know. You were a little rough on Hardware to me. Well, let's talk about what happens in it first.
Yeah.
Dylan McDermott is in it. He's listed first, even though the person who plays his wife, Stacey Travis, is in it more. We get a couple of great cameos from Iggy Pop, who plays he's like the radio DJ who's talking at the start and the end of the film. And Lemmy plays a cab driver. Rest in peace, Lemmy. So basically this is the plot outline I have for us, is Alien but with an angry cyborg. And what we noticed immediately about this film is that nothing happens for 40 minutes.
No, more than that. Nothing happens for an hour.
No.
The first kill in the movie happens an hour in.
No. That's not true. It was 40 minutes because the movie was like an hour and 30 minutes long. So like it had to be. There were 50 minutes of this movie that were okay.
I'm sorry. You talk for a minute. I'm gonna check this.
Okay, don't check too long. Dylan McDermott finds and buys an old cyborg helmet for his wife, who's a sculptress, and she makes a weird metal sculpture that comes to life because the head turns out to be a cyborg who can regenerate itself when connected to a power source. Then it uses a bunch of household tools to attack her, and it gets pretty good once that starts happening. But it takes a really long time for the robot to finally wake up and start, killing people, killing her
It
pedophile neighbor first.
the pedophile neighbor dies an hour into the movie. I just checked.
No, no,
Right
no,
under
no,
an
no.
hour.
Well,
Yeah.
well, like I don't think we can mark when it starts moving by the first kill. Like maybe once the robot is up and moving around.
Okay, so the robot's up and moving around 40 minutes into this movie.
Oh, so I was right, huh?
Yeah, you were right about when the robot started walking around. Well, here's what sucks about this movie. When the robot starts killing people, the movie becomes awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like really great.
The hour of build-up until then is boring, kind of misogynistic, and doesn't really add much to the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So, I
Continue.
hate 2/3 of this movie.
I hate one half of this movie. You hate a little more than I do. Which is why I think I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Because I hated exactly half of it and loved exactly half of it.
Wait, I'm sorry. There is one scene I love before it starts killing people, and that is solely because it uses Stigmata by Ministry, and it uses it really well, and that's cool, because you have an awesome industrial song put over some cool welding. That's neat.
Well, I'm a little offended because I think the band they were showing in that sequence was actually Gwar.
Oh.
But
Were they around in
yeah,
92 or whatever? Huh?
yeah, but they were playing Ministry, so I'd be offended if I was both Gwar and if I was Ministry. Like you
Well,
could,
Ministry used to rock, like, those weird masks and stuff.
yeah, they could have shown Ministry, so I'm a little peeved about that, but I guess Gwar wanted to be in it. I don't know. This is sort of a tangent. Richard Stanley makes some kind of weird choices later on. Like I'm thinking when the robot injects Dylan McDermott with stuff, and he has like an acid trip, and it's like
Yeah.
like I'd call it bad 2001: A Space Odyssey. Is how I'd describe it. I wasn't sure what was going on there.
No.
I don't know what that added. Do you have any idea?
It wasn't a cool trip, and I don't know. I thought he was just trying to get some of those visuals in there, I guess. The weird thing is that weird trip sequence is interspersed with the robot doing, like, hacking, like, typing on keyboards and stuff. So I thought the robot was stealing government data or something, but then he was just hacking doors, I guess. I don't know.
What'd you think of the look of the robot? I thought it looked pretty good at times until it was, like, when it was pretty dark and it concealed most of it. Like, it looked pretty cool. But
Yeah, when you get the wide shots of him walking around, he looks really silly.
yeah.
Like, the effects look great. Ah, man. I have a love-hate relationship with this movie that leans towards hate.
Well, and when he's in full light in the shower, he just looks horrible.
Yeah. Speaking of looking bad in full light in the shower, Dylan McDermott has an elongated sex scene in this that I didn't need to see.
Did you call him Dylan McDermott?
Yes.
It was a pretty bad sex scene. That was in the first act where nothing is happening.
Well, and then it establishes the creepy neighbor, and then I don't know, like you have this really cool. The world in the movie's cool. You have a lot of cool ideas happening, but so much of the movie is dedicated to just like a creepy pervy guy who just has like weird phone calls and watches people be. Yeah, I don't know. It was just bad.
I had while we were watching that movie, one of my other friends came up and was watching behind me, and they were like, what the heck? Like, this is so wrong. And I realized how jaded we are to some of this stuff, because like it wasn't as bad as some of the stuff we've seen, but I mean, it was pretty nasty.
Like what specifically? The effects or just?
Oh no! I'm still talking about the pervert guy in the wall.
Oh yeah, no, the perverts. No, that stuff genuinely grossed me out, and I just didn't think it really had a place in the story they were telling.
Yeah, that's true. Also, that fits into the misogyny you were talking about.
And did you see Mute?
I did not see Mute. You told me not to.
I didn't finish it. It was that bad. Emily made me shut it off. But it has a similar sort of thing where one of the characters is a pedophile, and it Justin Theroux is a pedophile.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's crude and stupid, and it's like you can't act like I'm supposed to take your sci-fi film so seriously that I'm going to let it deal with these really complex themes of sexual abuse, you know?
Yeah. That's lame. I thought he'd put out something good after Moon. But
Source Code was decent.
I mean, I've literally heard nothing good about Mute though. Like not a single thing.
I have one friend who said it was okay, but the soundscape is horrible. It's just hideous to look at. It's it's a travesty.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's good in it, I guess.
Is he the main character?
No, he's like another bad guy with Justin Theroux, but he has a cool mustache, so.
Oh, yeah. So, what'd you think of Hardware on the whole? Like, what'd you rate it?
I didn't rate it, actually. I've been sitting on it, thinking I might like it more, and some of the ideas in it I like. I think if I'd seen this movie when it came out, I would have thought it was really cool, but I'm just not big on it. I think it wastes too much of its screen time. Have you seen Death Machine?
I have not seen Death Machine.
So it's a very similar sort of movie, but it doesn't have the cyberpunk aspect to it. It's got Brad Dourif in it, and he is this like maniacal robot designer, and he creates this robot and sends it loose in a warehouse, and it kills a whole bunch of people. And that movie is really silly, and it knows what it is. And this movie has some moments that I think are intended to be silly. Like, I don't think most of this movie is supposed to be scary, right?
Yeah. I don't think it is.
It's just really awkwardly juxtaposed, I guess, between, okay, well, here's the rapey neighbor watching these people have sex in infrared, and then calling them and being like, oh, yeah, you like to ride cock, don't you?
Yeah.
So you have that, and then you have, oh, here's the evil robot that's killing people. And the political messages it was trying to send, although I guess admirable, just felt really childish to me.
There were political messages in this?
Yeah, it had all the footage of, this, even in the Stigmata sequence, it had all the footage of political prisoners getting executed, stuff like that. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, well, this robot they've built, we've decided to make 20 we've decided to unleash all of the Mark 13 units in the world.
Yeah, I see what you mean now. It was pretty childish. Like, I didn't even register that as, like, a political statement.
Yeah, no, it's so...
I registered it more as, like, world building, because it was so, like, like you said, childish.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I got real Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 vibes out of this.
Yeah. Well, when it got political, it definitely had that really 90s war is bad kind of vibe.
I mean, they're right.
Yeah, but it's sort of like the modern day Trump is bad kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
it's not.
Let's put that joke in our
It's not brave or original or interesting or anything like that.
I should add, as much as I've shat on this movie, there's some nice cinematography. The production design is stellar, and the lead actress I think is great. I think she does a really, really good job.
I think so too. She was much better than Dylan McDermott. She really tries to pull the Ripley sort of vibe in this movie, and I think she does it like fairly well. No one's gonna be as good as Ripley, but
more Aliens Ripley than Alien Ripley, I would say.
This is true. And apparently she did most of her own stunts.
Nice. Yeah, that one where she jumped out the window looked good.
Yeah.
I got dragged out of it.
Yeah, I wonder if she did that one, but I was impressed by that. She does a really good job, and when she's sort of hiding from the robot, it gets pretty tense at points.
The sequence with her going in the fridge was cool. Some of that stuff was neat, but
yeah.
If you're going to have, like, the rapey neighbor, let her take out vengeance on him, you know?
True.
It's like she didn't even get to see the full extent of him being a creep. And he died the same death everyone else in the movie did. I don't know. I mean, his death scene's sweet. He gets his eyeballs ripped out, and his whole head gets like broken in half. That's cool. Oh, real quick, tell us about who was supposed to be originally in it.
I think it was Bill Paxton and Jeffrey Combs, right? Is that what I said?
Yeah. Oh man, can you imagine how much better this movie would be if instead of watching Dylan McDermott just sucking, we got Bill Paxton?
Yeah, and Jeffrey Combs' Shade sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah, Shades is a guy who just does drugs and doesn't do much in this movie, but he wears sunglasses. So Jeffrey Combs being in that role, I'm sure would be out of this world.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. But yeah, I really wanted to like this more than I did because I like Richard Stanley's story. I like a lot of the sort of creativeness he has in this, but it just doesn't pan out because the narrative is like non-existent in the first half of the movie.
Yeah, and I've been seeing stills of this movie since I was a kid. I've always wanted to watch it, and so finally getting to see it is just not as enthralling as I'd hoped.
Oh, you get the right still from this movie, and you'll think it's gonna be like
High art,
like
yeah.
better than Terminator kind of thing.
Look at that robot chopping that guy in half with a door.
Yeah, I mean there's some good kills in this, but definitely
Oh yeah.
not enough to sort of make up for the lack of a first half.
But the last 30 minutes of this movie, I would say make it worth watching if it sounds up your alley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially if you're someone who's a real sucker for cyberpunk or Mad Max sort of worlds, I think maybe the first half would appeal to you more.
Yeah.
I've seen it done better before. So it's like, have you seen Fire City End of Days?
I have not.
So it's made by Amalgamated Dynamics, which is the studio that did the practical effects for like the Thing reboot that got CG thrown over it. I guess it's a prequel. It annoys me when people call that a reboot. But they're some of the best working people in the industry right now for practical effects. So they made like a Hellboy-looking movie that's also kind of neo-noir. And there are a lot of cool ideas in it, and there's some neat effects. But it's like this where nothing's happening, and it's so serious for most of its runtime that it's not really enjoyable.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, like, even this movie, I thought the main character's name... not the main character. Well, I thought Dylan McDermott was the main character for quite a while. I thought his name was Max in the movie, which would have been hilarious, but I think his name is really, like, Moses.
I think it's Mo, but yeah, it's supposed to be Moses.
And they call him Bax because his last name's Baxter.
Oh, the symbolism with him finding Mark 13 in the Bible and all that, too. All that's just, it's not well done.
Yeah, but man, I wish I liked it because Richard Stanley...
He seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, the first part of Lost Soul I saw makes it sound like he has like a good head on his shoulders. He was talking about Dr. Moreau and just like some really like deep historical context about the book, and it's like, wow, this guy really understands this book. You know?
Right, and was this his first movie?
This was his first movie, which...
Okay, so I shouldn't go too hard on him.
Yeah, we really
There's
shouldn't.
some really impressive stuff happening here, and it's. You said what? It was a $1.5 million budget?
Yeah.
I mean, all that considered, it's pretty cool, and I understand why it had to be slow in places. It's just that he filled it with some just, like, pointlessly vile stuff that did not satisfy my tastes, I guess. I don't know.
If I remember right, it made quite a bit of money from that budget, too. I think it made like $8 million or something like that, which is kind of insane with that budget.
Maybe we should still give Dust Devil a try. We were originally going to watch that instead of our next film, Bag Boy Lover Boy, but we couldn't really find it in good quality anywhere. I don't think it's been put out on Blu-ray.
I don't think it has either.
There was one DVD of like the extended cut we could have bought, but it was expensive, so we said pass.
What you said you didn't wind up rating Hardware. But...
I didn't rate it. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 after remembering that it's a directorial debut, and I'm sure he didn't expect it to kind of get the cultural holding it did to an extent. I mean, It was a pretty big movie. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's got Iggy Pop in it. Come on.
I'm surprised he got some of these people in it, for sure. Like, even McDermott was probably, like, I feel like he had some, like, he was married to Julia Roberts back then. He probably had some...
Was he really?
I believe so.
All right, this is called this episode's called the Roberts Theory.
Yeah. Some of these people had star clout, at least. So, I don't know how this movie was made exactly, which makes me want to give it more credit than I've given it.
Yeah, here's my final word. on Hardware. If this movie looks like it would be up your alley, it probably is. I understand why people like it. I just thought it was boring and gross.
Well, I mean, it looked like it was up my alley, and I didn't I didn't like it spectacularly, but it was fun in points. So I'd recommend it. I can see why it has some cult classic status, because it definitely has some moments that I think deserve to be seen. But you can skip the first half if you want. Like, and I don't think I'm joking.
No, really, if you just want to watch the last 30 minutes of this movie, you will get everything this movie has to offer out of it. Watch the first 5 minutes and the last 30, and you'll see all the cool wide shots, and then you'll see the nitty-gritty that makes this movie almost worth your time.
You want to move on to Bag Boy, Lover Boy?
Yes, please. Give us our intro.
Okay, so we watched Bag Boy, Lover Boy, which is on Shudder right now. It's sort of off of our radar. I don't know how we didn't come across it, but it's from 2014 by Andres Torres. Stars John Wachter as Albert and Theodore Bukolowsk as Ivan, the photographer. It follows a loser hot dog vendor who gets trapped into being a model for a weird fetish photographer. He tries to start his own photography career, and horrific events follow. Did that sound good?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
I should add, this is also on Amazon Prime, so if you want to see it, it is out there. Tanner, I really like this movie.
I did too. I was honestly pretty impressed with it. It's a really tight film. It's pretty short. The lead actor is just incredibly interesting. Like, he's such a weird looking dude. And a weird talking dude. Like, I don't know where he came from.
Well, I'll admit, I thought he was some form of disabled throughout most of watching the movie. It didn't feel like they were exploiting the actor, but I think he might have just been European.
I think he was European. But he does a great job of playing a real, like, oddball. Like an oddball loser who would run a hot dog stand.
He is not worried to present himself in the most hideous way possible, and I really respect that. And he seems like he's probably a bright guy, because I saw that he directed a movie with a couple names I recognized in it, so I'm glad he's... the main actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Good on him, yeah. No, I think he does a great job. Him, the Harvey Weinstein type in this movie, he's pretty great, too.
Yeah, that's Fyodor Bukolowsk.
Yeah,
I think
I
I'm
liked
pronouncing
him.
that right. He was really good, too. Definitely that's the vibe I would expect from someone exactly like Harvey Weinstein. And I thought this movie had a pretty good message. Well, like, not a message, but like a deeper meaning. I don't know if you ever wound up thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be taken as a meta commentary on exploitation films, and I think the fact that they cast the guy they did in the lead role only adds to that.
I think having the main character just be so simple and not understand the difference between exploitation and the norm sort of comes across really well when he eventually tries to do his own photography, which he thinks is normal, and it winds up being like killing women. There's just something really deeply disturbingly accurate about that. I don't know if you felt the same way.
No, I do. We should give some context, I guess. So he gets drafted, basically, by this dude who thinks he's really ugly to be a model for his new art show. Mm-hmm. And when he's doing the modeling work, he has to put, like, bags over girls' heads and choke them, stuff like that. And there's some really demented stuff, like the girl will be dressed up like a pig, and the guy taking the pictures will be like, yeah, you're a fat hog, yeah, and you want to eat his hog, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Grab the pitchfork and poke her with it. And he's doing this in order to impress a girl who he knows is dating a photographer, and he gets given a Polaroid by the main photographer guy. Mm-hmm. And when he starts taking his own pictures, he doesn't understand the difference between actually killing someone to take the pictures and just taking the pictures, you know? Yeah. And so I guess that's where the meta commentary came in, where it's saying how thick really is the line between exploitation and actually just doing something awful.
Yeah, and I mean, we see examples of the results of the main, not the main guy's photo shoot, but the fetish photographer's photo shoot, and it just looks like photography we've seen in an art gallery somewhere, you know? So, like,
Yeah.
that makes you just horrified to think of what was behind that picture. Because I don't know if that's how it actually goes in the art world. I'm not a fetish photographer or an art photographer, but I'm terrified of that world now.
Well, even take something as like seemingly innocent as Tim and Eric. They're still kind of mocking and exploiting the mentally ill, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
And so I feel like it extends beyond just like pretentious stuff. Even things I find the most primal laughter coming from, you know, like, oh, this funny looking guy is eating a hot dog wrong or something, you know?
Yeah.
It's all on the line.
This movie's even a slasher, and the slasher genre in and of itself is sort of taken out of context would be just like a vile exploitation of, you know, like, do you ever like take a step back and think about why we find these things enjoyable? Like, it's just
Right. Well,
but I don't know.
there's that age-old argument with like Brian De Palma and Argento, where it's like these guys are misogynists because they're killing beautiful women. And Brian De Palma's response to that was kind of, well, no, I'm killing beautiful women because it's so effective.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time...
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Like, all those films, like, illustrate, like, a vulnerability, like, all women are vulnerable, sort of thing. This movie has the same thing going on, but I think it's way more, like, cognizant of the sort of misogyny behind it. I'd say it's really just, like, it's more of an art film than I sort of anticipated based on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
It has a couple of really weird sequences with like a clown and a woman in the bathtub. Or, no, the clown's in a bathtub. Something like that. But they're in black and white, and it's really artsy, and it's going on inside our main character's head, and when he's sort of like breaking.
Do you mean the rave scene?
The rave scene. Was there
There's
a
a
rave
scene-
scene? Oh,
There's
yeah,
a scene
yeah.
where he's home alone and he just starts dancing.
Yeah. That was pretty good. I would recommend this movie just first and foremost because it's interesting, and I feel like more people should see it and more people should comment on it, so we know if we're viewing the film in a way that is actually fruitful.
No, I do think we did. I think what it's trying to say is very well done, where if someone maybe didn't watch a lot of exploitation films, it wouldn't be so obvious to them.
Yeah.
But because you and I love the genres so deeply, it's I don't know, it's easy for us to look at and say, oh, these are true things that are probably happening, you know?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot on this film, I found. Did you have trouble finding, like, trivia about it? Like,
I wasn't really
facts about
looking
it?
into any of that. I don't know.
I had a lot of trouble.
Can I talk about some trouble I had with this movie?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, it is progressively showing us that the main character isn't just like a simple-minded guy. He is kind of a terrible person, right?
Yes.
So he has a hot dog stand, and when we first see him running it, I mean, he's doing a really poor job. He's dropping hot dogs on the ground and then still trying to sell it to people. Mm-hmm. And then later on, we get a scene of him masturbating in the hot dog stand.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Right in front of the grill,
Yeah.
and there's no shot of him ejaculating on the grill and that sizzling. And do you think they couldn't get the effect right? Did they not want to show it? What's going on there? Because it's not like that's any more depraved than anything else in the movie. They set it up. Why didn't it happen, Tanner?
You wanted the money shot.
I wanted the money shot.
I don't know. I think that may have just been a step too far. You say there isn't anything more depraved than that, but I think...
Oh yeah, the necrophilia isn't more depraved than that, sure.
Well, that's been done before. We saw that not that long ago in a movie from the 80s.
Called Angst. Great movie.
Go back to episode 1 if you haven't heard that one yet. We've watched 2 movies with necrophilia in them in less than a month, and we don't know how that happened.
You know, actually, I don't think I've seen that many movies with it.
I haven't either. No. I can't even think of the last one before Angst. So this month has just been full of necrophilia. How
Child
nice.
of God, that movie James Franco directed.
I haven't seen that one. Is
Oh.
that the Cormac McCarthy book?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
Emily and I walked out of the theater because it wasn't very good, but
that
there was
probably.
necrophilia in it.
Well, if it's Cormac McCarthy, it probably does.
Well, and it was, we were at a film festival and Yojimbo on 35mm was starting, so we snuck out to go watch that instead.
Yojimbo?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds much better.
Yeah, no, definitely. That I don't really have an opinion on that James Franco movie. It was well shot. It seemed fine. I don't know.
Well, I wound up giving Bag Boy Lover Boy 8 out of 10 on Letterboxd. 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think I might lift it on a rewatch. It just felt very. It isn't really a criticism of the movie that it went by quickly and felt really simple to me, but it didn't have any like long-lasting emotional impact or anything.
This definitely had a minuscule budget. Like, I love films like this that do so much with so little. So I think that's why I'm willing to give it the 4 stars. Just because it manages to be so interesting while not having that much money behind it.
For me, when it hit the point where he actually started killing people, it just became a little less interesting to me as a character study. There's a movie with Tim Heidecker in it called The Comedy, and it's built a lot like Taxi Driver, where you keep watching this guy, this terrible person, become more and more unhinged, but he never actually hits his breaking point. He just hits like really low points. And I probably would have preferred if this movie had found a way to still tell its message without going that far. I think it probably would have been more powerful for me. Because at the end, when Bag Boy Lover Boy meets his fate, I was just kind of giggling at it, you know? And I don't think this movie's really going for hard emotional overtones or anything, but I think it could have built some of that a little stronger for me to say I loved it. But it's a fun time for the most part, and I definitely enjoyed the watch.
I don't know about fun, but it's definitely like an effective watch. You'll definitely like feel something, and I think it's something that's not that easy to define, which is why I find it to be a successful art film. Because I don't know how it made me feel.
It is a little extreme, but it's not too bad. I watched it with my girlfriend, and she wasn't really squirming at anything. If you're a little off-put by the content, I don't think it's that disturbing.
It never quite... It always, like, sort of hints at breaking a certain line, going over a certain line, but it never does. Even in the scenes with the photographer saying all those depraved things, I don't think it ever gets like...
I can't watch this anymore, you know?
Yeah, it never goes full deliverance or anything like that.
And when it does, I think it's effective and it's well done. It's not tasteless by any means.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's really aware of its status as a slasher. And just by, like, when slashers are self-aware, then it's more acceptable than just brazen exploitation.
If you like character studies like Exit Through the Gift Shop, this movie almost has the same arc as Mr. Brainwash in that. And so if that sounds like a fun time to you, it's worth watching for sure. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I did too. I think I'll give it a rewatch at some point just to see if it sort of holds up on second watch. But I do think it is an 8 out of 10, which is a pretty good rating for me.
If for nothing else, it's worth watching for that main actor's just bizarre performance.
Oh,
It's like Tommy Wiseau mixed with Napoleon Dynamite. It's just baffling.
But it doesn't feel like a caricature. It just feels like some weird guy you would meet in a hot dog stand, which makes it just so much more interesting.
And it adds to the effectiveness of the commentary it's trying to do, because in a way, while watching it, you're like, I don't know, is this guy like this guy? And they're just mocking him? It's hard to tell.
What a strange film.
Okay, Tanner, I have a new segment I want to pitch you for the show.
What is that?
It's called Hot Takes.
Hot takes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to hear my hot take?
What's your hot take?
All right, came up with it on the spot right now.
Right now?
I don't think it should be that hot of a take, but it's not like a universally accepted opinion.
Okay.
American History X is an awful movie.
But the curb stomping. Just kidding. I've never seen that movie.
It is so stupid.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine it's stupid. It's like even the premise seems a little ham-fisted.
Yeah, so Edward Norton goes to jail, and when he's there, he meets a black guy who's kind of nice to him. Edward Norton's a neo-Nazi in this movie, for those of you who don't know. And he's talking about basketball with this guy, and the guy's like, I think Michael Jordan's the best basketball player. And he says, nah, man. And then he names some white basketball player. And that's the level of commentary you get in this movie.
Wow. How beautiful. How profound.
One of the things that makes it so bad is when you have the flashbacks of Edward Norton being a neo-Nazi, they don't try to refute any of the stuff he's saying to justify his racism. Mm-hmm. Like, in every single scene he's in those flashbacks, he's presented as the person in the right on, like, a logical level.
Yeah.
Which is just so stupid and back-asswards.
Well, that sounds horrible.
There's a scene where he goes to he goes at a basketball rink, and they're just playing basketball, and he's, like, showing his big swastika tattoo, and the neo-Nazis beat the black guys, and, like, the deal is that the black guys can't play there anymore if the neo-Nazis win. And it's filmed in such a way that we're supposed to think that Edward Norton is really very cool as a neo-Nazi. And it has this giant, like, booming orchestral score behind it.
That sounds horrible. Who directed that?
So I don't remember, but the director basically got the movie taken away from him in the edit.
Uh-huh.
And Edward Norton edited the movie himself. And so I think maybe that's where some of it comes from. I'm not really sure. And the director seemed like he was being a big baby about it. Like, they gave him the option to come back and do his edit, and he was like, no, I'm gonna just remake the movie on my own. And then that never happened.
Nice. You want to hear my hot take?
Yeah.
All right, so Lindsey Buckingham was just fired from Fleetwood Mac, I think today. I think...
What?
Yeah, it's true. I think that he should go his own way.
Is this a joke?
Yeah, that's a joke. It's not really a hot take. No, but Lindsey Buckingham really was fired.
Was he?
Yeah, I've just heard no one make that joke yet, and I feel like it's so obvious that it should be made.
What did he get fired for?
I don't know. I didn't even know Fleetwood Mac was still together. So that's the really strange part for me.
I get into, like, a yearly bit where I listen to Tusk a lot, and I'm going through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, the standout song for me was What Makes You Think You're the One?
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, for me, it's Save Me a Place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Me and Claire listened to Landslide in the car the other day and had a tearful drive. Man, that song gets me every time. I'm mostly kidding, but yeah. All right, you want to close the show out? I'm about to pass out.
Yeah, that's cool. Tanner has a big day tomorrow, and
Yeah.
he has a radio shift to do in a couple hours. So,
I think I may miss that.
no.
But
well, I
don't
won't be
tell the
listening
public.
then. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys so much for listening. Next week, like every good fourth sequel, if you guys haven't noticed, we don't have episodes for the Horror Boys. These are sequels to the original Horror Boys. So next week, Horror Boys 4 will be Horror Boys 4 in space. And of course, we'll be watching Critters 4, Leprechaun 4, Jason X, which is the fourth Jason Resurrection film. And, most importantly, Dracula 3000!
Wait, what?
What?
Does Dracula 3000 exist?
Yes, I don't think it's actually...
But wait. I thought we were watching Hellraiser Bloodlines.
Oh, we're also watching Hellraiser Bloodlines.
We're not watching 5 movies.
Oh,
and I
yes, we are.
I refuse to watch Hellraiser Bloodlines ever again.
Okay, so you don't watch Hellraiser Bloodlines. I haven't seen it, so I'll watch it on my own. And we're definitely doing Dracula 3000. It's got
Okay.
Coolio in it, and I hear it has no budget.
Okay, we'll watch Dracula 3000. I guess I probably don't have to watch Jason X again either.
I haven't seen that in years, so I'll rewatch
Oh.
that. So
Actually-
I'll watch those two while you're busy being a busy boy.
Actually, I want to rewatch Jason X because I loved it. Like I loved that film. It's just Alien, but it's the alien's Jason. It doesn't make any sense.
Do I remember a scene where a cyborg's nipple falls off?
You might, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm definitely giving that another watch.
Cyborg's the best character in that. She gives Lance Henriksen a run for his money as best movie cyborg.
Bullshit.
I'm not joking. She's great. She's the best character, except for Jason.
Well, but
except
what
for
if I-
David Cronenberg.
What if I told you my favorite cyborg in cinema was Robin Williams in The Bicentennial Man?
What if I told you my favorite robot in cinema was Robin Williams in Robots?
What if I told you my favorite robot in cinema was Robin Williams as a floating head in AI?
I don't have any more Robin Williams robots. I'm sorry.
I got
You
all
win.
sorts of Robin Williams.
You win.
Is The Bicentennial Man good? I haven't seen it.
I have no idea. The poster always sort of intrigued me.
Okay, guys, we may or may not be watching The Bicentennial Man. It is the fourth sequel to The $6 Million Man. First you had The $6 Million Man, then you had The Bicentennial, then you had The Bionic Woman, and then you have... thank you guys so much for listening. Tune in next week for Horror Boys 4 in Space.